welcome to Maw Maw's Best Cooking and More. Today I'm going to share with you how I make cornbread dressing. Now it's a little different, but it's a lot delicious. So I hope you'll give it a try, but before we get started, let's wash our hands. The first thing that we do is we take 1 cup of chopped celery and 1 cup of chopped onions, and we put them in the chicken broth, about 6 cups of chicken broth. And we're going to cook those down until they're tender. And then we'll put our dressing together. So let's let those cook for a little while. All right, now we have boiled our 1 cup of onions and 1 cup of celery diced in about 4 to 6 cups of broth, and we cook them until the onions are clear, and you can see there they're clear. That means they're tender and they're done. So now we're going to add this to our cornbread. But first of all, we'll need to make our bread fine, where we can mix it well. A lot of people use their hands, and you can if you want to, but this is a whole lot quicker if you've got a food processor. So we'll process this now until we get all of our cornbread chopped up and real fine. All right, now we have put our cornbread into the Cuisinart and got it all mixed up. It's really fine. It's crushed up, and I didn't have to do a thing with my hands. The next thing that we will run through the Cuisinart is our light bread that we're going to put in with our cornbread. Now what I do, this is a tip, this is from all the years when we had to save money any way we could. I never throw away the ends of bread. Nobody at my house will eat them, but I don't throw them away. When that bread gets down to just the ends, I put it in a baggie and freeze it. And after I get 5 or 6 slices, then I'll take those when I'm ready to make my dressing, and I'll put them in my Cuisinart, and I make a fine, almost like a flour with them, because you want to add that to your dressing. So we've got about 5 slices of bread, the ends, they work just fine. And we've got our 10-inch skillet of cornbread that's made. And so that works great. Now I'm going to add the cooked vegetables and the chicken broth to my bread. So I'll just dump that over in. And I want to mix this well until it's all incorporated and all nice and wet. We don't have any dry spots. Now what it does to cook those vegetables separate, it makes them really soft, and when you're eating, you'll never get a big hunk of hard celery after the dressing is cooked and you're eating. I just like it that way. I'd rather have it all cooked before I put it in with my bread. So the next thing I add is 1 stick of butter, and I just drizzle that over. So I've melted that stick of butter. Stir that in. The next thing I add is a can of creamed mushroom soup. And this really gives it a good flavor. Okay, we keep continuing to stir until we get it all mixed well. Now, a lot of people don't care for sage. A lot of people in my family don't care for sage. But I do like a little bit in it, and a little salt. So I put about a tablespoon of salt and a tablespoon of sage. And with this amount of dressing, it's not real strong with sage. So we'll mix that up. Now I don't put raw eggs in mine. A lot of people do, but I don't. I don't need that to add to the flavor or for the texture. It will stay really moist by itself, just like this. Now, today, I'm going to make this in 2 8x8 pans because I'm going to take these to some friends that have been in the hospital. So normally I would grease or use Pam on a 9x13 pan, but today I'm doing two 8x8 pans. So you can add black pepper to this if you want to. I don't usually, but anyone that's eating it can add it to it once they get it on their plate. So now I'm going to divide this out into two 8x8 pans. One good thing to know is that you can freeze this and it will keep several weeks. Or if you're making it up just a day or two before you're going to eat it, you don't even have to freeze it. You can just put it in your pan, cover it well, and refrigerate it. And then when you're ready to have your meal, then you just bake it in the oven. And it'll be just fine. So you can kind of get ahead of the game a little bit so that you don't have to make everything on Thanksgiving morning or Christmas morning or whenever your special occasion is. So this makes quite a bit of dressing. So if you wanted to cut this in half or whatever, you just make a smaller amount of cornbread and then cut your vegetables down. But this makes a really good dressing. Now, one thing that I do that helps it stay really moist when you're cooking is I will put just a little bit of chicken broth over the top. And what that does is that as that cooks, it doesn't dry it out. It'll stay nice and moist. Now, let's see. We will need to cook this in a 450 degree oven for about 35 to 40 minutes if you're doing a 9x13. Now, it may not take quite that long in these smaller pans, so you can kind of just watch it, and when it gets brown around the edges, you'll know that it's done. And but you don't want to overcook it, you don't want to burn it, because you want it to stay nice and moist. So we'll pop these in the oven and get right back to you so you can see the finished product in a few minutes. All right, our dressing is finished. And like I said, I made it in two 8x8 pans this time because I'm going to share it with some friends that have been in the hospital. But normally I make it in an 11x13 pan, or you can even make it in a larger pan and make it thinner. But we like it about this thickness because it stays so nice and moist. So I hope you'll try this recipe and I hope you enjoy it. I know my family loves it and has loved it for about 55 years. So give it a try and let me know online. Let me know on Facebook if you tried it or not. Now let's talk about our verse for this week, actually for November. It's do everything in love, 1 Corinthians 16:14. Share that with your family. I'm trying my best. I've had a hard time since I've gotten older remembering verses, but I thought if I start out with the short ones and I say it over and over and over, maybe I'll be able to retain it. And I have found that it is helping me. I hope it helps you. We talked about the one in October, give thanks to the Lord for he is good, Psalm 118:1, and now this one. So, you know, it never hurts to have a Bible verse in your heart. So I hope you'll come back and see me next time. We've got some really good stuff coming up to go with this dressing.